How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us here on this wonderful Wednesday. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. A Border Security, Coast Guard. What better way to have a conversation to start things off? So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Honored to be able to continue, sit in the seat, hopefully facilitating our discussions and equally encouraging our people to become active participants in our society. Honored to be able to welcome, if they don't mind me saying, young, handsome, fine, intelligent Caymanians like this, our studio guest. Mr. Clifford, sir, I even include you. Your mother said, well, he's a handsome, in fact, So welcome. Mr. Scotland, likewise, sir. Thank you all very seriously, for your stewardship, your leadership, your acumen, but above all, your integrity. And I think that is something that, epitomizes who we are as a people as we look at what our forefathers represented. If we can continue that vein and walk with our heads high, we'll have a bright, blessed future. So, again, Mr. Clifford, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having us this afternoon, and we look forward to productive dialogue, and of course we'll have an opportunity to open the lines as well to callers. Mm-hmm. So I'm here representing what will be the merged Customs and Immigration agencies. It will merge into one agency on the 1st of January next year, and it will be called Customs and Border Control. So that's my role to talk about that today, and I'll Mr. Scotland is here, of course, to talk about the Coast Guard, and I'll allow him to speak to that now. But just to say that Customs and Border Control is very much looking forward to a productive relationship, operational synergies with the Coast Guard.
Mr. Scotland?
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon, listening audience. Again, just to echo what Mr. Clifford has said, thank you very much for having us on. And yes, we are looking forward to new and exciting times.
And as we look at it, the idea that Cayman always sort of enjoyed and has been positioned from the outset this incredible maritime heritage. And when we look at our people, even from the early days of the catboats to recent times, the Muskigees, to even now, some of our fellows are being requested, some are being sort of compensated. Go across the Gulf, bring back a boat with us, legitimately, right? Not just overnight fishermen looking for the square groupers. But as we do that, we see that in our veins, and to be able now to, I guess, evolve into something that looks very seriously at our border control, developing and deploying a Coast Guard for our safety, our security, and hopefully, in partnership with the region to ensure safer seas as a lake. Right. It's a needed evolution and very timely.
Absolutely.
How do the two interplay? Because with the greatest respect, I still say immigration, I still say customs.
And people will probably continue to say that for some time until they get used to the name of the new agency which comes into effect on January the 1st next year. But I just wanted to say, sort of to introduce the concept and the policy direction that the Honourable Premier said in his strategic policy statement in December last year, that the government was moving in this direction where they would be merging the Customs and immigration departments into one agency to have a more strategic approach to border control. And that they would also be setting up a Cayman Islands Coast Guard, and that the Joint Marine Unit, which now consists of customs, police, and immigration officers, would transition to a Coast Guard, and with a new mandate and new branding, etc. So that was done in December last year, and we have done a tremendous amount of work since that time preparing for the merger. So we've established a merger steering committee, and we've established a number of subgroups to work on specific aspects of the merger. Now, we need to understand that a merger of this magnitude is not a 6-month project. So on the 1st of January next year, we'll have a common identity, a new brand, a new name. So we'll all be in one uniform, customs and immigration. But there's a tremendous amount of work to be done after the 1st of January to complete the merger. So this is truly a multi-year project. And while we look at our respective functions, we want to say very clearly to the public that this is more than just presentational change. This is about real change, a new approach to border control. So moving away from that traditional gatekeeper's approach where we ask all passengers the same questions. We're moving away from that in a new direction, which other countries, particularly larger countries, have already embraced, and that is to the intelligence-led risk management approach. The reason for that is that we all understand that the majority of passengers arriving on most cruise ships, on most ocean-going vessels, and on most aircraft are not necessarily passengers that we need to scrutinize carefully. So we need to do a better job at separating the passengers that we do need to scrutinize more carefully and focusing on those passengers. So we have a tremendous amount of training and upskilling to do in that regard in terms of changing the approach. We need to look at equipment as well in terms of what we need to effectively implement this type of policy. But we believe it's the correct direction to go in. And just sort of to complete my thoughts on the sort of concept and policy direction, the government followed through on this policy direction earlier this year when they introduced the Advanced Passenger Information System Law, which will make available to us a tremendous amount of information from the airlines serving the Cayman Islands that will help us make this transition to the intelligence-led risk management approach. So those are sort of my introductory remarks, and I'll leave it there for the moment. And perhaps Mr. Scotland can speak to the Coast Guard issues now.
Indeed, and we have a couple of things just to help us understand, because maybe there's still laboring on the misconceptions, but as we get through, so we'll ask about those things. But with respect, I think Mr. Scotland, you're not just here because you're handsome and tall and intelligent. Share with us. So from the Coast Guard perspective,
thanks, Dwayne. Pretty much the Coast Guard is the realization of a vision that's been had by various persons going back quite a while, recognizing our maritime history, as you alluded to earlier. What we're hoping to do is create an entity that is world-class, recognizing the unique challenges that face us in this jurisdiction, not only from a drug interdiction or an interdiction perspective, but also search and rescue, and also water safety. As Mr. Clifford said, it's pretty much the two agencies are new, and it's not going to be an overnight thing. I think we both share the vision that in setting it up, we need to get it right in all aspects for it to be a success. It's, in the truest sense of the word, a strategic project. Our concentration in the Coast Guard, when we take post, myself and Lieutenant Commander Anglin, our first area of focus is going to be around the legislation, the regulations, the standards that we want to set based on the directives that are given to us by the government. Once we get those out of the way, then we can look for the Coast Guard going live next year sometime. Until then, the Joint Marine Unit will continue to be responsible for marine enforcement, search and rescue, and everything else.
All right, and we're going to want to ask, about that sort of merger, as the Joint Marine Unit, structure, reporting, and those things. But Mr. Clifford, if I could just revisit some of the things you said earlier. the intelligence lid sort of screening, and like a word that we used to hear way back ago that had somewhat of a negative connotation, profiling. That's what we're looking at, being able to identify from all of the information you have from all the different various agencies through the cooperative levels to know as the passengers leave one jurisdiction to enter another. Hey, this is, not wanting to get into too much of the part that tips your hand, but those of us who are coming through should be okay.
It's a sort of delicate balance, I suppose, in talking about this issue, because the type of information that we're relying on is not necessarily information that we would want to share publicly.
Yes, sir.
Because it would essentially be counterproductive to what it is we do.
Right.
But just to say that we'll have much more information available to us than we've had in the past, and so that will give us the ability to very carefully scrutinize manifest as an example. And before that aircraft arrives in Cayman, we should have a fairly good idea of which passengers we want to look at more closely on board the aircraft. So if you think about the example now, when you arrive in Miami, and you see that you go through the system quite quickly, and you don't have the type of sort of confrontational approach that you had in the past, unless you refer to secondary for a more thorough examination, because it's something that they've seen that has indicated to them that they should take a second look. That's the same type of approach we're moving to here. So it'll be a lot more efficient for the majority of passengers. We'll be able to move them through a lot quicker. Now, this isn't all going to happen on January 1 next year. It's going to take some time to go through. I was thinking
December 31st.
It's going to take some time to go through the additional training, securing the additional equipment, making sure that the advanced passenger information system law is effectively implemented. So once all of that is in place, it's a transition that we're in, essentially. But ultimately, that's the type of experience that passengers can expect sometime next year, perhaps looking towards the third quarter of next year. That will be the experience. So what we're talking about, essentially, is a single checkpoint coming through our borders. If you are referred to secondary for a more thorough examination, then clearly that's a second checkpoint, and you don't want to be in that area. But generally speaking, most passengers will go through one checkpoint.
All right. And this will be whether you're coming through the airport or
the
seaports.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Now, from the perspective, Mr. Scotland, when we're looking at the activities relative to marine enforcement that are now under the ambit of the Department of Environment, so the conch poaching, the Coast Guard, would that be a part of their remit, or we're looking at, as you shared, interdiction, search and rescue, water safety, and the things traditionally we come to associate with the Coast Guard?
The overall areas of responsibility and scope of responsibility for the Coast Guard is still something that's being worked out.
Okay.
I do foresee at some point in the future that we will be asked to play our part in fisheries inspections and marine park enforcement.
Okay. Just clear now. When we come back from our break, could we ask about the notion of the organizational structure, how the reporting lines exist, who's in charge, and sort of, I guess, responsibilities, authorities, and different things.
Sure.
Right? And fingerprinting as well. We can ask about all of it.
We can talk about that. Of course, technology is even moving on from that point, but we can talk about that.
Well, the biometrics.
Yes.
That's where we want to go. And we will open the phone lines up, but sometimes if you need to know what's going on, you got to be able to respect. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Sometimes we should listen twice as much, even 4 times as much. So let's get the information, and then we can ask the questions. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Babe, not tonight. I need to be rested for all-day meetings tomorrow.
What are you talking about? I was almost asleep.
You keep poking me, and I can't sleep.
That's the mattress spring I keep telling you about. Not me. We really need to get a new mattress.
Tossing and turning, back hurting, can't sleep? It might be time to turn in your old mattress and go to bed with a new one. Browse the huge mattress showroom at Brand Source Home Gallery and pick the perfect mattress today. With mattresses to suit every budget, Brand Source Home Gallery stocks a wide selection of sizes and styles like pillow top and gel memory foam. So stop tossing and turning and sleep better tonight with a new mattress from Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after,
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
for happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit britk.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit-K, where people come first.
This week we will have Miss Marzita Bonner from Celebrate Cayman.
Then we'll be having a roundtable discussion on the port referendum.
That's the ultimate key, sustainable development for the Cayman Islands. Like, we need to think big, we need to think future. Like, how is our island going to look in the future?
The word of the week is tenacious. Tenacious. It's an adjective that means a willingness to yield and sticking together.
Hi, I'm Zola, and this week is Crew Week.
My pick is Chronix Icon.
So, join us this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. And for Youth Flex, a program for all people by young people. Youth Flex, more than 20.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, and I've done my best.
Is this thing working? Give me some sound over here.
Every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Radio Cayman Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show for your radio, featuring Will Sinatra.
Now, sound is everything.
Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, reggae, and calypso, and an entertainment trivia section. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of the Cayman Islands Football Association. CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. And I say this, gentlemen, honestly, with the greatest of sincerity and respect. I'm very proud to know that I live in a society that, we have people like yourselves, not just the intellect, but the acumen, and not just that, but the integrity and that strong work ethic and ethos that is representative of what I knew our parents and their parents were like, so that when people can look at us and see the seafarers of old, they can look at us today and say, look, young stalwarts still trying to hold, the mantle. Mr. Clifford, Mr. Scotland,
thanks very much.
I commend you, and I trust that you'll continue not only to grow with grace, but we'll find in our society more of us, willing to pick up the mantle. Yeah. So, what I say, Customs and Border Control, and then the Coast Guard. Could we perhaps just revisit this idea of structure? When was like it, we playing a football match, who's keeping goal? Well, that's me. Okay, we know you're gonna be there. Who's the center forward? Okay, well, two have to be on the same team, but at different ends, basically of the half of the pitch, right? So for the Customs and Border Control, we knew you as Collective Customs. Are you to be the Director General of the right honourable?
No, don't go too far. So yes, I've been appointed as the Director, Customs and Border Control.
Okay.
And I'll have 6 deputies under me. So we have a number of portfolios that they will be responsible for. Administration and management services is one portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
The other one will be revenue and compliance. And some of these names will be refined over time. But essentially, these are the primary areas that they'll focus on. Another deputy will be responsible for airport operations, one for seaport operations. There's one responsible for intelligence, and essentially the sort of liaison with other relevant government agencies, and then also a deputy responsible for the sister islands. So that's essentially the management structure, and then of course under that management structure there's sort of the usual positions that fall below that in terms of rank structure. So that's essentially how it will be structured come January the 1st. And of course, over time, as we proceed with the implementation of the merger, the structure is likely to evolve. So this structure is essentially, the one I just described, is essentially a transitional structure, which will evolve over time, as I said.
So as a director, akin to the collector, your team, your management team report to you.
That's correct.
And now, as like that, you report to, what is that reporting line
then
from?
The reporting line from me up is to the chief officer in the ministry, which, as I understand it, is likely to be what is now called the Minister of Immigration. So I would be directly reporting to the chief officer in that ministry.
And now I think it's more under finance. And
At the moment, customs is under the portfolio or the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development. And, of course, immigration is under the Ministry of Immigration.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and for some, it may not matter, but if we understand that, then we can get the basis. Respectfully, Mr. Scotland, how would the Coast Guard work, and where would that fit in?
Okay, well, the Coast Guard will be a separate entity apart from the police service. The Joint Marine Unit, once the Coast Guard goes live, will basically cease to exist. The Coast Guard, the Commissioner of Police will have strategic responsibility for the Coast Guard, but the operational responsibility will be myself and Lieutenant Commander Anglin. Relative to ranks and structure, that is part of the process that myself and Mr. Anglin will be putting into place, looking at various models within the region as well as from the UK. As you know, the UK Coast Guard has been very generous in lending us the assistance of Commander Bostock, and the US Coast Guard has also provided assistance to us as well. So we'll be reaching out to both our regional and international partners to get as much advice and guidance going forward.
And as you shared earlier, those sort of three aspects, the water safety, that's what we see Coast Guard, even with respect, we just look within the US and intercoastal, we see some of their smaller vessels, just making sure that people are not just compliant, but they're safe and responding where necessary to potential risk. And then we see the search and rescue, the much more, intense high seas, rough seas. They're out there somewhere off the coast of New England, getting to that ship before she goes down and what have you. But then the interdiction, playing a cooperative role with other intelligence services or even sometimes quasi-military operations in a sense. Again, just looking generally globally. Not three areas that are, this is almost a full plate.
It's a very full plate. But again, we're looking forward to the assistance that will be rendered from our international partners. We're also looking forward to the advice that we will gain from our local partners. As you alluded to earlier, we have a very rich maritime heritage. There is a lot of experience out there that we plan to tap into. We realize that the government can't do it all. And it's only through exploiting those synergies that are out there that we will be successful.
All right. Well, gents, if we could open up our lines and join a caller too. Sure. Let's go to our phones. We have opportunity. Now, I do apologize, Mr. Clifford. You have to put that headset on. It's not the most flattering of headsets, but it looks good. I think we could probably get our makeup team to come in. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and good afternoon to your panel.
Good afternoon, Mom.
Good afternoon.
I want to say my name because I've been mistaken many times. I heard you on the radio, and I wasn't on the radio. I would love to get on the radio more often, but I can't. My name is Charlene Schmidt. All the way from West Bay, where Dwayne is from.
Yeah, and I hope they don't hold that against you.
No, if they come down this way, they got to have a waiver.
Making things easy,
Yeah. Anyway, good afternoon again. And the question is, I have two. Who would be doing the training for the Coast Guard? And the other question is, whoever's doing the training, would they also be women in it as well? Or no? Then I want to make a comment that I think Mr. Clifford and the rest of his officers are doing a very, very good job. I must commend them. I'm happy to know that it's not, I can pick you out because your family or your friend to so friend, and because Caymanians are getting enough of this. We want to know that people that is heading up our island is properly trained. And Mr. Clifford, if you need to weed them out, weed them out.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much,
Thank you very
I
much.
hope to have an answer about the ladies. If the ladies can join.
Thank you very much for those comments.
Thank you very much. And, Mr. Scotland?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for those questions. By all means, yes, we're an equal opportunity employer. We do recognize that there are many women out there who will be able to do the job on par or even better than some men. So, yes, we are open to all genders, if you will. Regarding the training, as we mentioned earlier, we're looking at utilizing the opportunities available to us from both local expertise and also international expertise. So we can look forward to seeing a cross-section of training instructors from various agencies across the region and internationally.
If I could ask, just sort of spark what I call it, sharing. Going forward, we're seeing, and I only use the U.S. as an example, maybe because I'm a little bit more familiar, sort of a Coast Guard Cadet Training Corps that they put you through, similar to what they do with some of the aspects of their military you go through. Two questions. Is that sort of where we may be looking at potentially down the road, where we have the sort of training school and we bring our people on, and recognizing our maritime heritage?
Yes, Dwayne, that is exactly the direction that both myself and Lieutenant Commander Angler are looking at. Sorry. We are also aware that there is a cadet corps. There's actually a maritime detachment to our local cadet corps, looking to tap into that. As I said, we have a very rich maritime heritage.
Mm-hmm.
We want to look at developing, call it people of middle age, but also encouraging our younger generation, those coming out of high school or those leaving university college, to explore a career in the Coast Guard.
And I think, it's perhaps easier for those of us who may have an affinity, but it's law enforcement, it's life-saving, it's character building. It's just, either you like to see, you don't like to see. But there's salt water in our veins, and I think more of us that appreciate that. It's amazing to see Caymanians who are second generation, and for whatever reason their families are overseas. They live in the middle of somewhere where the closest bottled water is probably in their tap in the kitchen, and they still gravitate towards the sea.
And
it's in our DNA, right?
I think so.
As you said, it takes a very unique person to want to go out in weather conditions when everybody else should be coming in, especially if there is life at risk out there. The water can be a very unforgiving environment, and it's also very, very lonely out there.
Absolutely. And I mean, the Coast Guard project is obviously for Mr. Scotland to speak to, but I just wanted to say that what he just said is very, very true. There's no question about that. I mean, I remember as an operational police officer, some of the things we had to go through on the high seas. As he said, it's very lonely out there, and it's you and your team, and that's it. So it's a different world out there. It's different from policing on the streets, and so it takes special skills and a special type of person to do that type of work.
All right, well, I'm going to ask some more questions, but respectfully, can we just join that caller who's online? Good afternoon,
sure,
welcome.
Okay.
You're on Talk Today. Hey, good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, man, James Ebanks the third, better known as Jimmy.
Mr. Jimmy, sir, how are you today?
I'm extremely thankful, man.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to your panel there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Very, very good panel.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
It fits the frame of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like the song said. Yeah. Well, I'd like to call you Chucky, but let me call you Clifford for this one, sir.
That's all right. They call me all kind of things, so that's all right.
Even to his face, sir.
Yeah, it's correct, man. Hey, that's a good merger. I got a suggestion, man. I think you all will love it.
Okay.
Let me put it in on a short pocket. Have short pocket. Let me put it in that so it wouldn't be. I know how to reach down to get it too far. Okay. The merger that you said is going on now. Just repeat that for me one more time.
Right. So it is essentially the coming together of the customs and immigration departments into one agency, and that will happen on the 1st of January next year. So ultimately, as I explained earlier, we're leading to essentially one checkpoint at the border, but we're going to have available to us much better information than we've had in the past. So we're going to be looking at things quite differently in terms of how we approach incoming passengers and how we separate the good from the bad.
Yeah.
That's in summary what it is. Yeah.
It's sheep from the goods.
Yeah.
Okay. But I thought early on in the show here that I heard something about it was going to be something like about three agencies grouping up, like your group there, the customs and the immigration for the border and the police for the Coast Guard.
Right. So the Coast.
Three divisions merging in one.
Well, it's two merging in one. So Customs and Immigration is merging into a single border protection agency called Customs and Border Control. And then the second agency is the Coast Guard. So that'll be essentially what is now the Joint Marine Unit, but is being transitioned to a full Coast Guard. And Mr. Scotland is the commander for the Coast Guard, so he can speak to that issue.
Yeah. So
yes, sir.
That would be a unit that would be listed in as a group, Customs, Immigration, and Coast Guard.
Well, the Coast Guard is a separate entity, but of course we'll be working really closely with the Coast Guard for obvious reasons.
Okay, that's explained properly.
Okay.
Now you're doing a good job, very good job, man. I'm proud of the job you're doing.
Thank you very much, sir.
To Scotland too.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thanks very much, sir. Thanks. And before we go to the break, any initial comments, Mrs. Scotland?
No, I think Mr. Clifford pretty much nailed it on the head.
He does all the time, you know. He'd say he wasn't a carpenter. All right, let's pause quickly and take a short break. When we come back, more talk today.
The Chamber of Commerce Business Excellence Awards are back. Saturday, October 27th at the Ritz-Carlton. Join in as we honor the contributions of the Cayman business community, celebrate the lifetime achievements of an outstanding business leader, and enjoy live musical entertainment. The Business Excellence Awards are proudly sponsored by the Ministry of Commerce, Brit-K, Caribbean Alliance, Coldwell Banker, Yellow Media Group, and more. Visit businessexcellenceawards.ky for more info. The Business Excellence Awards, Saturday, October 27th. For tickets, call 743-9129.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Did you hear that Vant Motors has your sale going on now? And you get your choice on the money you'll save on your new car or truck?
My sale? My choice? Really?
Yeah! And they have lots of cars on sale. Some up to $7,000 off.
Sounds pretty good.
It gets even better. You can choose to take the full discount or you can get some or all of it as cash back.
Extra cash back would be great.
Exactly! And you can even use the savings to extend your warranty or service plan so you'll drive worry-free for years longer.
Another good idea.
If you want to upgrade with something like a new roof rack or backup camera, you can choose that too.
Wow, I get to choose?
Yeah, that's why it's your sale, your choice. Going on now at Vant Motors on Walkers Road, while stocks last.
Did you know that once properly sanitized, some tinned food items may still be safe for consumption after coming in contact with floodwater? In order to properly sanitize these tins, always remove labels, and then wash tins in a strong detergent solution using a brush to get rid of excess impurities. Tins must then be immersed in a solution made of 2 tablespoons of chlorine bleach per gallon of water for 10 minutes. Ensure that containers are air-dried before opening. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit the DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. And as we talk about Customs and Border Control and the Coast Guard, Mr. Clifford and Mr. Scotland joins us. And gents, as a caller prior, and even though later, just before, we commend you for, glad to know that this is the stature we have, and it is a good time. When we look at intelligence-led sort of activities and we're thinking of making ourselves safer, right? With respect, I remember the first time I saw in the U.S. airports, military personnel, with what I call submachine guns. I don't know if that's even a proper term to use. There was going to be this outbreak in the Middle East. For me, in my era, so the first time of age, those who traveled to other parts of the world would have seen that and been accustomed to that. That was the first time I saw it there. And sometime later, the big General Schwarzkopf walking with his aide, I thought, wow, we are a changing world and we become accustomed to, I guess, much more things that we take for granted increasingly. But our security on our planes are important, our borders as people come in. Biometric screening, whether it's fingerprint or otherwise, Mr. Clifford, how do we implement that and utilize it in order to make sure that we are safe, given the fact that more of us are subject to potential identity theft and the like?
Well, the thing is, I think we all recognize that technology is moving extremely fast. So when we talk about fingerprinting and other types of processing passengers, we have looked at various options. We've had the opportunity through the Miami Fast Track program to work really, really closely with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So they have recently introduced the facial recognition technology in one of their concourses. So we had the opportunity to see that in operation. So when we talk about things like fingerprinting, we may look at that, but perhaps the technology has kind of moved beyond that at this point, because we've seen some of that technology. We have seen, for instance, the Customs Border Protection in the Miami International Airport being able to process an Airbus 380, which is probably about 450 passengers in about 27 to 30 minutes. If you think about that, that's sort of the direction we need to be moving in. So we're not going to jump too rapidly into that. We're looking at the options to see what best fits our environment and our current circumstances. And then we look at the cost of that and how we can acquire that equipment. Of course, it requires training as well. Everything requires training.
All right.
So there has to be a strategic plan put in place to introduce that type of stuff.
Now, with this...
No, and I mean, just following on from what Mr. Clifford has said, the utilization of technology, especially when it comes to coordinating search and rescue attempts. The days where you had a general idea where people were and you sent out vessels, basically looking for a needle in a haystack. Technology is now assisting us to better coordinate search patterns. Computer modeling to say once you knew where a vessel was, you take into consideration the tide, the current, the wind directions, to better allow you to deploy your resources, realizing that some days you may have more resources and other days you'll have less. Coordinating, aerial search patterns with, sea search patterns, getting that coordination and communication sorted. Because the longer that the search and rescue takes, the likelihood of successfully finding people diminishes. So, getting the right people in the right places at the right time is a priority. And, utilization of technology to do that is one of the key focuses.
We do have another caller.
Sure.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, just want to finish up what I had started there, Sterling.
Oh, yes, sir. Didn't realize that. Apologies.
Okay, that's accepted.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, that heading there, Custom and Border Control.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful way to do that, to design that. I'm thinking that would be on the coat of arms, right?
Well, we have a new crest that we've developed, so we have a new uniform that we'll be using. And there are elements of the coat of arms that's been incorporated into the new crest, but we're not just using the coat of arms.
Oh my! You want to get that up and that.
Yeah, but
under the coat of arms.
There are elements of it in the new crest. Yes, definitely.
Border and custom control. That would be a fitting place for that. Listen, we are all sinners, so we have all the right to go in and sin, But you see them first two letters there? He. We got to respect that one.
Yes, understood.
We treat that with like nothing. We got to respect that.
Yes, sir.
If we respect that, then we safe,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're safe, man. We're safe. Just put him up front.
Understood.
Put him up front, man. Remember, he's the one that was hanging on that cross. he put himself in my place.
Yeah.
So that's good. Let's do a good job of it. I'm looking forward to see what it look like, to be honest with you, man. Keep it up and do a good job.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thanks again, sir. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I guess, there are many who will see the Coast Guard is probably like many, a lot of Latin slogans to guide. Not sure. So, safe at sea is important.
Mm-hmm.
For the public, then, what, perhaps in the closing moments, what would be the salient things for us to understand going forward, and what can we do to assist with not just the merger and implementation, but our own safety and security, whether at sea or as we travel?
Well, if I could just say that, when we talk about a project like this, and the truth of the matter is the merger is new to Cayman in terms of merging government services. So it is quite a new type of project for us. And there's a lot of speculation and anxiety about it. We have tried to involve staff at every step of the way. We've had different channels in place to allow for consultation with staff, for them to give their feedback on uniforms, the name of the organization, etc. So what we're asking the public to do is to give us the benefit of the doubt, to understand that there will be some teething problems. We understand that every country that's done this before, and it's really only the larger countries, have had teething problems. We've learnt from some of those experiences. So we've had the benefit of advice from our colleagues in the US, from our colleagues in the United Kingdom. And so we're going to avoid those mistakes that they made, but we're likely to make a few of our own as well. So we can pass that information then on to other countries that might be pursuing this. And on that note, Sterling, I want to say that we've had a tremendous amount of interest from the region. So I serve on the executive committee of the Caribbean Customs Law Enforcement Council. And when this was announced, we had a lot of information that was sent out through the region. We had a lot of representation coming back to us through that council from various countries, including Cuba, saying that this is the right direction to go in. They want other Caribbean countries to emulate this, and they want us to provide whatever advice we can to them. So we've already had 2 conference calls with 2 different Caribbean countries on this project. And we've made it clear to them that, we are in the initial stages of this, so we are by no means experts, but we can sort of give them some advice on the approach that we've taken. And in fact, other independent Caribbean countries like St. Lucia is also talking about this now. So again, I think as a country, as a people, we should be proud that once again, Cayman is leading the way in the region. And it's something that we really ought to be proud of. In closing, I also want to say that we have some very, very hard-working customs and immigration officers. They work on the front line every day. We've heard about all of the great cases that they've made. It's been reported publicly. It's been reported through the courts. And I just want to thank them for their efforts. I know that within certain elements of the 2 departments, there is some anxiety too about this, just like it is in the public. But we have provided all information that we can at this point. And moving forward, we're moving forward as a team. And we're confident that at the end of the day, we will effectively implement this merger. And it's a long road ahead, a lot of work to be done, but I'm confident that we will deliver.
Well, if we can play our part in helping to inform or communicate your message, let us know.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Scotland?
Just echoing a lot of what Mr. Clifford has said, the Coast Guard is a new entity to the Cayman Islands. We have and we will have, and we've always had a maritime enforcement aspect within our law enforcement. This is basically taking what was there and taking it to the next level, hopefully. It is our Coast Guard, as in the Cayman Islands Coast Guard. It's no one individual's brainchild or anyone particular's project, if you will. It is our Coast Guard. And it's imperative that everybody plays a part in making it a success. Again, we will be reaching out to various stakeholders within the water sports industry to get their input into how we can make it a success. It is the intention to make it a success. And, to steal the DG's slogan, a world-class civil service, well, we want to make it a world-class Coast Guard. And in order to do that, we need your assistance to make it happen, as well as our international partners.
All right, well, let's do our part. And again, if you don't mind me saying, public to hope don't embarrass you. Very proud of you, professionally and not personally. You guys are awesome.
Thank you very much for having us, and certainly we want to thank the callers as well for their input.
Indeed.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, more talk today.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Opposition lawmakers have walked out of the House as Legislative Assembly resumes meeting today. The opposition leader tells Radio Cayman the group will explain their reasons for leaving at a press conference at 2 p.m. today at their offices in the Windward Centre, but refused to give any other details. In the meantime, the Premier is deferring questions submitted by the opposition until a further meeting, since they have elected to leave the chambers. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines in news elsewhere. The European Parliament has voted to pursue unprecedented disciplinary action against Hungary over alleged breaches of the EU's core values. Minister Viktor Orban's government has been accused of attacks on the media, minorities and the rule of law, charges which he denies. More than two-thirds of MEPs backed the censor motion, the first such vote against a member state under EU rules. U.S. East Coast residents are running out of time to flee before Hurricane Florence batters the region, officials have warned. The Category 4 storm with 130-mile-per-hour winds is forecast to make landfall early on Friday. Up to 1.7 million people have been ordered to evacuate across South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. And there will be 18.1 million new cases of cancer and 9.6 million people will die with the disease this year worldwide. A report predicts the rise from 14.1 million cases and 8.2 million deaths in 2012 is partly due to a growing and aging population. The figures suggest 1 in 5 men and 1 in 6 women will develop the disease in their lifetime. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman. Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Save 50% off a complete pair of glasses with any student eye exam. Now extended until September 28th. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in the Caymanian Village. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
And Radio Cayman would like to advise its listeners to don't forget to register for the 12th annual Grand Cayman Breeze Fusion 5K Walk Run. Of course, you can help us in raising funds for the NCVO and the John Gray High School Musical Department. Registration is only $15 for adults, and of course, if you register by September 30th. The walk run will take place on Saturday, November the 3rd at the Smiths Vacadere. You must be registered by September 30th to take advantage of the lower fees, of course. Please visit CaymanActive.com to register today. Stop by Radio Cayman on Elgin Avenue. and speak to the beautiful lady out front, Miss Ava.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, and welcome back to Talk Today. And thank you so much for joining us as we get a chance for the next half hour or so to be able to continue our partnership with our good friends over the Cayman Health Services Authority. And in the studio, we have Miss Tamara Worms rally together with Dr. Lyndon Swan, and we talk about Caribbean Wellness Day. Miss Tamara, I always, look forward to not just this continued partnership with our friends at HSA, but sometimes the things you get to learn, the little tips. So thank you for that tip earlier. Dr. Swan, as a physician, sir, you can testify that that's a good tip, right?
Sure, absolutely.
But Caribbean Wellness Day, Mr. Tamara. I listen, if we can't laugh, and that's my tip of the day. Laughter is good medicine.
Absolutely.
That should be on one of the tip sheets.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. It should be on the tip of the sheet. Eh? Yep. Oh man, this is just like West Bay, and what we say here, we talk about it with everybody.
It is a good medicine, laughter. Need some time for fun and laughter. Yeah.
A friend of mine says, why are we taking ourselves so seriously and no one else is?
Absolutely.
That's so true.
So, Mr. Wong, now that we've set the stage, laughter is good medicine. Huh?
Yes, it is. It definitely is.
The idea that we're seeing wellness as part of that overall health and well-being in people's, not just their physical, financial, spiritual, but also their mental health. And when we start to think of the importance of looking at life and being able to get up in the morning with a spring in a step, a joy to see your spouse and her children and to our co-workers, to be able to make that drive or walk or ride into work, to attend to our clients or patients, whatever we call them. Maybe we're in the back office somewhere making sure that the organization runs. Having that a presence of mind, that physical, willingness to go about, sometimes it's all-encompassing.
Right, that's true. One of the things that we always talk about is one of the biggest impedance to, to really having a productive day is mental functioning. Mm-hmm. If you're not functioning mentally, then I'm thinking that your day is already done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think that's why the focus is on healthy communities, preserving the workforce. I think it's a very important theme this year. The overall theme, though, is Love That Body, and it's something that they have, developed into sub-themes over the years. And this year we are actually looking on preserving the workforce, and I think it's a very important theme.
I may share with you another time. I was just thinking back to some students, when they were looking at how we look at word play and the like, But perhaps to keep our focus on it from two perspectives. As a dietitian, Ms. Tamara, and as a pediatrician, Dr. Swan, we don't realize sometimes that, what is it someone said to me earlier? If you don't, eat and make your food your medicine, if you end up having to make your medicine your food, what's that effect? So our bodies are a temple, and as we look at our children, the example that we set, the sort of instruction, guidance that we give them with respect to their health and well-being, food plays a part.
Absolutely. And, being a pediatrician, it's really important, and we see the kids, so many of them, and it has to start from very early, those conditioning, those good habits of eating, healthy foods, good activity. good outdoor play exercises, have fun, relax, play. So play, they will smile and laugh just as we were doing earlier. It's so healthy, very important. And so it's all encompassing, good nutrition, good positive stimulation, good fun, good upbringing, guidance, etc. So nutrition is an important part of that, and it has to start early.
And I think, Mr. Martin, when we think of nutrition, and guide me, because I tend to, without apology, I don't mind thinking differently from other people, considering other things, as long as they're not negative, as long as they're not counterproductive and the like. But we think of our working environments, for instance. But we have environments at work where, okay, there's no smoking in here because not just the legislation, but we see the potential ill effects for others. Or we sometimes don't appreciate either that if we can create this social, harmonious environment where people don't feel the unnecessary stress of what already is their jobs, and they can laugh, there's a chemical release, from the brain that tells the body, hey, you start to feel good.
Right.
And your perspective, and then the outlook is that much better. And then who knows, you see things differently.
Right.
All plays in tandem, huh?
Right, it does. And, as you say, those good hormones, the endorphins. And that's one of the things, too, people don't understand that when we talk about preserving the workforce, we're talking about having a healthy environment, and we're talking about, the things that you choose to do within the workplace. So the types of food that you choose to eat can also impede your day, impede your development, impede your productivity. And what we understand, too, as well, is that sometimes people will drink things like, for instance, even alcohol. You have people drink a lot of alcohol before turning up to work the next day and doesn't realize that it gives you not just a hangover feeling, but it impedes your brain activity in the next work day. So those are some things that we need to look at as it relates to that.
And for the children, some basic things of fruits and vegetables, which we've always known, eating healthy foods, home-cooked foods, and having breakfast. It's so important for children to have breakfast, they have those calories and fuel the brain to think and to be settled. And what they eat is also important, slow releasing sugars rather than fast, quick release of sugars and high sugary foods and so on. And healthy foods. And we would love to see more home cooking, more water instead of like free juices, and for the kids.
I think too, as we look at that, sometimes we don't appreciate that thing that we give our children. Let's say in the morning, how healthy, how nutritious is that food, that thing that they're going to be consuming when they're going off to work, or maybe there's somewhere they're going to be in activity. Would that allow them to function as effectively?
Right. So the thing is, what you do consume in the morning affects how you actually function throughout the day. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at high sugary foods that people will sometimes have in the morning. They don't realize that it impedes their cognitive productivity throughout the day. Things like, sugary cereals that they use in the mornings, the sweet milk that they will use with the sugary cereals, that will sometimes make them fall asleep in the classroom. It will make you fall asleep even at work. So as Dr. Swan had mentioned, slow releasing sugars. So we're talking about having more multigrain food that releases the sugar slowly. So a multigrain cereal, a fruit in the morning, is more healthier than choosing something like a sugary cereal.
But I think it comes down to us as parents being informed and knowledgeable about even our own choices. Are we leaving the house without eating, or are we picking something in a package, or maybe in a jar or some sort, a can, a bottle, or what have you, because we believe it's quick, convenient, and it's labeled as being healthy.
Correct. Yeah. And so we have to set the example, and we have to set the trend, and to guide the children. It's very important. So those quick fixes.
Mr. Ward, activity levels. Not to maybe speak too much about my own lack of activity, but we have to seemingly almost consciously set about being active. Most of us, our commute to work is probably, in a conveyance, not by foot, by motorized.
Right. I think that's a problem too. And Dr. Swan and I was just discussing just thinking about preserving the workforce overall. When we look at commuting to work, most times we drive to work and we will get there. We park to the closest door to the office, or we drop the children right at the classroom door. We don't expect that, that is just a little bit too close, and we want them to be more active, more rounded, and get them walking and get the energy flowing. And that is one of the things too that impedes us, because we realize that when we become less active, our metabolism, our ability to break things down, break foods down, slows as well. And that's one of the things we have to look at. And
we have to make a conscious effort to have opportunities for the children to have activities, honestly. In today's world, safety is of importance. I remember as a child growing up, it was easy for us to all go out into the streets and play. Less cars, less kidnapping, less hostile people out there.
Less ferocious dogs.
Less ferocious dogs, etc. In today's world, one has to be a little more careful because its environment has changed. So we have to look, but nevertheless, still look for opportunities for activity for the children. Very important.
And I appreciate sharing that, and I trust that people will, if they have an issue with it, they'll challenge me. But as I look at all of the either new acquaintances that I meet, or even those that I've always cherished for so long, if they come to Cayman and they say, why do you stay? It's expensive. It's this. So it's the best place to raise a family.
True.
The children can go in outside in actual green space with relatively clean air and safety, and play in the yard on a place that isn't just laid on the concrete, or they can go to the beaches. It's such a wonderful place for families. But for some reason, those of us who've been there for a while, we're
not
inside.
taking advantage of that.
It's too hot out there.
We start to complain.
It's just a human behavior, You never sort of treasure what you have, It's like a prophet not without respect, but in his own country. That type of familiarity with things, it just become, you don't treasure it. And you're right, persons spend all their life savings to come here to the Cayman Islands to enjoy the beaches and the fresh air and the safe environment. And we need to know that it's good and it's there, and make full use of it.
Yeah, well, I've been noticing it specifically, almost consciously for the last 12 months, not stalking anyway, but because I'm in that area, the track up by the schools, the small one, the big one, that whole facility, increasingly from after workish to, I call it late evening, there are a lot of people using that track. Seemingly a lot of families, look like older folks with younger folks doing stuff. I thought, okay, it's summer, but that was during, last year, November, this year, spring, to just, other than even the rain, I saw a few people out there.
And it's really pleasing to see the John Gray track there out by the stadium there. It's being used by so many persons walking, running, strollers, etc. Very important. And there's other tracks around the, airport park and all that persons are playing. So it's very good.
That's it.
And we need to make more opportunities for that. While I'm on that also, the whole thing, it's regrettable there was an accident yesterday. But the policymakers and persons of authority to ensure that these places are safe, for walking, for riding, etc. Also important. Even as you plan how things are done, roads are constructed, we must bear these things in mind. It's very important. So we want to, and continue to provide. There are lots of fields and tracks out there, and as I said, as parents, we just need to make better use of it. And
well, I'm glad you shared that, because, respectfully, Mr. Mark, just on Friday, as some students are getting ready to return to university, some of our left, we were having a series of discussions. So these are recent grads from high school and some who are now in their first, second year and thereabouts in university. And we're talking about Cayman of the future. So some have papers to do when they go back. I'm glad that their parents sort of trust them, to be in my company sometimes. And the question we asked them, what was your future of Cayman? So we talk about, not that much debt, low crime, employment, and the like. And somehow the discussion got on to, well, what about quality of life? Road safety was an issue. This was Friday. Not just being able to walk and ride their bikes, but less vehicular traffic. and where the pedestrian, the cyclist, becomes the primary focus. Now, I know that was sparked by a few who are now schooling in Europe and some other places.
That's true.
Right, where you walk, you ride, and there's big open spaces that you have, thousands
Especially
of people.
like Spain.
Like,
yeah.
You were in that conversation?
No, because I've been to
Barcelona?
Spain. Yes, Barcelona.
Right.
Oh my! In Barcelona, their bikes. There is just so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was it. Okay, so I'm not gonna be training about his confidence, but that was an example that was given. And when you see the pictures, what do you call selfies?
Yes.
Well, whatever they are, all right? And they're showing you videos of these big open spaces and people are moving. I understand climate is a bit different.
Absolutely.
But could we do that? Would that be less costly for us? Would more of us utilize it if it was safe, convenient, and that was the norm?
I think a lot of people and as we were talking about, preserving the workforce, that is something that came to mind as well. When we can have situations like that where people can ride to work, you can have spaces where bikes can be parked, and people can rent these bikes for the week or for 2 weeks to ride to work. They're chained along the streets, and people just rent them and ride them to work. So if we have these spaces available, I think people will take advantage of it if they see that it's available.
Well, that's probably the problem. We take advantage of too much. Not just kidding. I want to pick up on that, though. But Dr. Swan, Mr. Mara, we do have a caller online. For those who are joining us, it's 949-8837 or toll free at 1-800-534-TALK. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, Ma'am. How are you today?
Good. And good afternoon to your panel.
Good afternoon.
Just listening to you guys off and on, and I was just coming around there by Cayman Beach. And it's this cyclist trying to get to Cayman Beach, came across from the third lane, trying to get over to Cayman Beach. And there was a car in the left-hand lane. Saw this guy trying to fight across to go into Cayman Beach, and that son of a gun right across him. This is the kind of traffic that we got to share. That people don't respect these cyclists or walkers on this small island.
So
just when I heard you guys talking about it, I just thought of coming to that at you guys to make you see that it's happening.
But thank you, and be safe on the roads. And as the caller shared, that's potential one of the impediments. I mean, tomorrow you were sharing.
Right.
What if we opted to want to ride or walk or even jog into work? Okay, we'll brave the heat, maybe the rain, but when we get to work, is there a facility there that we feel safe, is clean, is conducive to us, taking that shower and getting changed and getting to work? Now, maybe in some, maybe it should be in more. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's one other thing too. And you see, even as we speak, we still have to tie these things into, our work people. And I think that's one of the reasons why sometimes our productivity level is so low, because you have people who they are not really so comfortable in doing these things because they don't have the facilities to do some of these things. And because of that, they will come to work. They're sluggish. They're tired. They're not really upbeat, and I think these things can be very helpful if they had these facilities available.
Well, I share that only because he's given me permission. So, a fella I knew way back when, it might have been yesterday, it might have been last year, you decide. But he is in control of his domain, his office. So when he's renovating, he put in, and it's this suite with his office and a shower and the like. And so he started to exercise, not that far from work. And he found that at first he was, I use the word weird, a bit different. Even though he is, one of the top dogs in the place and he can come in, he would get in there at the same time, take his shower. But it was strange because the staff knew what he's doing. He thought, they're just right behind these walls. Okay, it's in my own little suite. But that mindset. But he could do it because he could build a space to accommodate him. Nobody else had it. And how does that make, for the way we design our live workspaces, what does that do to our outlook? Now, for him, he's enjoying the benefits. You can see the weight loss. You can see almost that returning smile, that spring again. But it wasn't overnight. And it was psychological as much as a physical and a financial change.
And it's also in terms of our behaviors and what is acceptable. As you said, it looked a little weird.
Yeah.
And what, we have to change walking. It's acceptable and healthy to walk. And to ride and all that, it's not that you don't have a car or something, or if you don't want to walk. I mean, to walk from the hospital just 2 blocks across to Flo, which is by the police station there, persons would stop and say, something wrong with you 4 or 5 times. And it's like, it's so healthy. I recall walking across there. It was like 5 minutes when I was preparing for the last 5K. So let me walk. I've got to run tomorrow. Let me just walk across there. Like 4 or 5 persons stopping. What's wrong with you? It's like you're wrong to be walking. Something has to be wrong.
Did you lose your license? What happened to you?
Absolutely.
Too cheap to buy a car?
No. I've come across the same thing because when I usually, I walk from work all the way up on Walker's Road. Sometimes if I have a home visit, there is a police officer who sometimes I think they're always patrolling this. Every time that he sees me, he says, "Are you okay? Why am I always seeing you walking on the street?"
So people got to know it's normal, it's healthy to walk, man, and to ride and to walk across, it's...
But it's the, the perception, it's also the safety from the other traffic on the roads, and with respect, only because I was asked again, let's control our animals, our dogs, because that proves to be an impediment to many out riding, walking, cycling, and the like. And the dog may not be ferocious, but if it should be leashed, it should be leashed. And that may affect a person's perception relative to whether they will even go outside and engage in activity.
And some people have some natural phobias for certain, dogs, and real fears and so on, phobias. So
squirrels, man, they might think that's Mr. Mara. See, laughter, I tell you, I can see Miss Norma going, she's laughing again.
But when the children play more, they laugh more too, as they go out there in the open spaces and they play more. Talk about open spaces and closed spaces. As you drive along South Song Road now and you see the spaces are closing up on you. They are closing up, as you can see. We run there some mornings, preparing for 5K runs and all of that. And if you run now, coming up South Sound from Red Bay Dock, going to like Hurley's there, Scotia Bank, you'll see the spaces are closing up on you. And that's dangerous. That's unhealthy, really. It's unhealthy. And people need to say that. And policymakers and so on. As you see those spaces closing up, what will happen now as people start to drive down there and, and those spaces, more traffic jam, and because of that,
less people walking.
It's more stressful for people. By the time you get into work and all that, you're stressed out, the hours you take and the congestion and all that. And it impacts on your health in every way.
And as you said that, let me just share this. So, mutual friend has a person who's visiting him for the first time and heard about Walker's Road. And I go there because that is Walker's Road, expecting to see this big paseo where people were walking, right? And, let's just say that it was she opted to go around a certain time when the schools were being hustling and bustling, and there was no walking.
No walking.
So again, maybe that is something that
they have to change the name of that road.
Well, what would we call it? Congested. But no. But again, maybe we could look more at sidewalks and bike lanes and smaller, less cars. I don't know, different things. But Mr. Mar, we're going to be well, and it's all about wellness.
And yes, and I just want to not deviate too from what the people know me for, and it's about nutrition and telling people that they need to eat things that is good for their brain development. Types of food. There's some foods that will enhance brain productivity, cognitive development, reduce things like Alzheimer's, dementia. And there are some foods that's gonna speed up the process, and so we want people to move towards more holistic foods, like things like chamomile tea, which is something I usually always often recommend in my clinic. Sometimes patients will come in and you'll give them a smile and you realize that they don't even smile back, and I will say to them, probably you need to drink some chamomile tea. It's good for settling the nerve, it's good for relaxation of the muscles, helps you to sleep better at nights, and when you wake up you feel a little bit more alive.
And it's natural.
It's natural.
Yeah. Well, if they don't come in and work for them, give them a little Paragard at night, man. I just behave there. Right. But again, it's what we put in and how it affects us. That big sugary caffeinated beverage just before bed may not be helpful, right?
No, it won't be helpful. And Dr. Swan and I was just talking about things like the coconut oil. A lot of people, there's controversy surrounding the coconut oil, but yes, it has some saturated fats. But as I was saying to Dr. Swan, is that the saturated fat from that is never ever going to outdo the saturated fats that you will get from animal sources. So the coconut oil, yes, it's good. The medium chain fatty acid that it contains, it builds ketones that is good for your brain development. So things like that is very good in your diet, depending on how you use it. So we're not talking about deep fat frying anything at this point, but it's very, very helpful. And I've seen a research, and not just written research, but also a video documented research, that this product, the coconut oil itself, the natural coconut oil, has helped a physician's husband to really beat Alzheimer's. So that is something that we can look into as well.
Respectful from your perspective, would I be rubbing it on like a lotion, drinking it,
taking it in your food? So, for instance, if you're making, and remember, your lifestyle should include physical activity. So if you're taking in small amount, for instance, if you're making a salad, instead of using butter or one of those things that you usually use that contains a lot of egg, like for instance the mayonnaise, you could use a little bit of coconut oil, natural cold pressed coconut oil. So those are things that you could add it to if you're making like a vegetable salad. If you're making a potato salad, you could add a little bit to it. So these are ways that you can use it. Yes, you can use it to saute your vegetables if you're doing like a stir fry. Yes, you can use it to do base your pot if you're doing like an egg. Those are things you can use it for scrambling your egg and so on. So those are ways that you can use it in your diet.
And it's also, as Sterling, the skin. It's good for the skin of kids who have like dermatitis or eczema. Coconut oil is a healthy oil, can be used there also. A lot of these things, it's about politics and economics sometimes, how they get a bad rap, that. But as I tell people, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. In Asian countries, coconut oil has been used for hundreds and thousands of years by people without any ill effects, and people have gone through and lived many, many years. And what we see in sort of jurisdictions, newer oils and being promoted, and persons are living shorter lives with lots of complications and so on. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. A lot of these things, influences are about economics and politics. When something gets a bad rap, I sometimes laugh at cranberry. I know all my other health persons would not agree with me. Cranberry is this superfruit. You take cranberry and you give me a good Julie or a good East Indian mango anytime, or some cherries or some guava, some June plum or some soursop, and you can take all the cranberries. These fruits are superior to cranberry, but we buy into all of these economics and politics about things where they grow. I just heard that the cranberry farmers in certain states, in certain parts of the world, are just being funded so many millions to promote these fruits. It's a lot about promotion and economic and so on. In the Caribbean here, we're rich. People need to be eating their cherries, eating their guava, their soursop, their June plum. The fruits that are right around us are rich and healthy. We don't need cranberries. And
the thing is, it's not cranberry the fruit that is now. They have taken cranberry and they have branded it. So now they're actually selling a brand of the thing in liquid rather than the cranberry fruit itself anyway. So I think that's a problem that we're having.
We'll have a break to take. I know you guys have your stuff to get back to. You want to spend some more time with us, Mr. Mara, or you want to chop in?
Well, we can quickly, when we get back, just talk about our activities, and then we should be wrapping up.
You mean activities? Did you hear that laughter?
It's healthy. Laughter is so important.
Tomorrow won't rally. That's why your husband is so handsome and healthy. He laughs a lot. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
The Chamber of Commerce Business Excellence Awards are back. Saturday, October 27th at the Ritz-Carlton. Join in as we honor the contributions of the Cayman business community, celebrate the lifetime achievements of an outstanding business leader, and enjoy live musical entertainment. The Business Excellence Awards are proudly sponsored by the Ministry of Commerce, Brit K, Caribbean Alliance, Coldwell Banker, Yellow Media Group, and more. Visit businessexcellenceawards.ky for more info. The Business Excellence Awards, Saturday, October 27th. For tickets, call 743-9129.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Brand Source Home Gallery has been appointed the exclusive Cayman supplier for Duravit bathroom products. Duravit is the leading international manufacturer of bathroom ceramics, tubs, and showers, recognized around the world for beautiful, functional products. Winner of top industry awards, Duravit collaborates with leading European designers to provide the most elegant and innovative bath products. If you're ready to bring style, comfort, and innovation to your bathroom, visit Brand Source Home Gallery to see the new Duravit showroom and meet the in-house bath designer. Whether you're planning a functional family bathroom or a personal spa retreat, browse the Duravit collection and be inspired. Brand Source Home Gallery, delivering a new standard in custom designed bathrooms. Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us as we have the opportunity to continue with our ongoing partnership with our friends over at the Health Services Authority. This tomorrow Warms Rally together with Dr. Swan as we look at health, not just Caribbean Wellness Day, but the idea of health and wellness. And that approach, I think, is important when we think of our overall well-being. That perspective is tomorrow sometimes feeling as much as our mental outlook as it is, by our financial prospects, because one can be heavily on the other. All right, so for Caribbean Wellness Day, we're celebrating it. What?
Yes, so for Caribbean Wellness Day, as we said, the theme for this year is healthy communities preserving our workforce. And, we thought about it and we say, what could we do? And we looked at the civil servants and we realized that sometimes we don't really highlight them. We don't highlight what they're doing. And we know that they are a big part of the workforce. They make up a majority of the workforce. And so tomorrow we are doing free health checks for all our civil servants if they come with IDs. Not that we're not going to do other persons if they do turn up, but we want to put a focus on our civil servants because guess what? Because they're a big part of our workforce and we realize that they have such a big impact on the community, we're looking at them now influencing the children to let them understand that these are things that are important for you to do your annual health checks and things like that, because the children will build the future workforce. And so also on Friday, we will be doing our general workforce screening. So anyone can come on Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We will be in the atrium at the Health Services Authority. That's the main foyer at the hospital from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tomorrow we go from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. because we want to catch everyone between their work time, because I know sometimes our workers, they will come for lunch at 1, some will come 2, some will come 3 or 4, so we will be out there waiting for you. So please come out, get your free health checks done. We'll be doing blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar. We'll also be doing your weight and height, and we also have been partnering with Fosters from over the years, and Fosters have partnered with us this year again, and they'll be giving us some fruit snacks. So thank you very much to Fosters for partnering with us this year.
I think that's, Dr. Swan, we're going to think about as Ms. Tamara shared, the civil service, whether it's the core government, whether it's the, statutory bodies included. It's a significant percentage of our working population with children, with, sort of extended families. That lifestyle could impact their choices, their health choices, and improve the overall well-being and quality of life of more of our citizens.
Yeah, definitely. Especially setting that example and being healthy and a positive workforce and happy and vibrant, and productive as with good nutrition, activity, good focus, a good laugh, etc., relaxation, etc. So it's all important.
Well, Star, as we look at wellness and we look at it within our own Cayman Islands, as you shared, giving civil servants tomorrow an opportunity between 1 and 5 at the hospital in the atrium?
Yes, it did.
And then on Friday between 9 and 2 for the general the working populace just to
Mhm.
come by.
Mhm.
What are those health screening options going to be?
Right, so we'll be doing your blood pressure for you just to let you know what the good readings are and what the bad readings are, and if you need further assistance, we'll refer you, as well as your blood sugar checks, so that the thing is, sometimes as a general population, as we look at our civil servants, oftentimes we're so busy, caught up in our office, caught up even us, the healthcare providers, sometimes we are caught up seeing other patients and we don't get to take care of ourselves. We're talking about the teachers as well. We're talking about the police officers, the firefighters. We're talking about everyone from the civil service. Sometimes we're so caught up at work that we really don't get the time to do some of these checks. So we want to make sure that you're healthy, and you being healthy keeps us healthy and safe as well. So we'll be doing your blood sugar. We're telling you whether it is normal. If it's abnormal, we will send you for further checks. We will also be doing your cholesterol panel, your general cholesterol, and if it is abnormal, we'll send you to do a cholesterol panel as well. And we'll be doing your height and your weight to let you know if you need some further, assistance to be in the healthy weight zone.
Yeah, as Tamara said, very often you're caught up as civil servants serving others, and you're not getting time for you to be served or to serve yourself. And so this offers an opportunity to have some free, and not because it's the word free that it costs, to do all of these. So we should take that in context. It's very important. All these tests are expensive, but it's being made available, because sometimes you have that thing that something free is not as useful as if you paid big bucks for it. It's very important.
It's paid.
Well, it's costing somebody.
Absolutely.
It may be free to you,
Yeah.
And I think we see all the slogans in early detection. We talk about, prevention. We know these things, but are we able to take time out for ourselves?
Yeah.
And sometimes we know there's a niggling feeling where some part of us, we just got that feeling. It may be physical or otherwise. So a few minutes, do a little blood work, get on the path to being healthy. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
People look at you differently. They're like, I didn't know he was so handsome. Oh.
And sometimes too, you'll have people will think that if I don't know, it doesn't hurt. Oh yes, it does, because eventually it will hurt a lot more than if you just found out a little earlier. So, just come on out and line with us and see what we have to offer. Get some education, to take home with you so that you can share this with your family. Because even though we have the civil servants coming out sometimes, as you said, Mrs. Sterling, is that there's an extension to that family. This civil servant is, related to that person, who's related to this person who has children related to that person. So once that information is centered, then it can be filtered down and trickled over to everybody else.
Indeed. Dr. Swan, in closing, to our parents in particular, as we look at our children, and if I may understand, there's a legal definition of the age of majority. We understand that, as per our legislation, we look at young people up to an extended age. But as a parent, whether your child is 16 or 60, it's still your child.
Absolutely.
Right? So as parents, irrespective of the age of our children, and specifically since you're a pediatrician, not much younger, what would you want us to do in relation to setting an example in our choices for health and nutrition, diet, exercise, sleeping, and things that we can employ now to maybe give them better habits, make them healthier?
Absolutely. I look at the trends over the years that have been that have stood the test of time in good health, and a balanced diet is important. When we say balance, it's probably an overused term, but I would say healthy. Less fast foods, home-cooked foods. People just need to cook a little more, spend a little more time cooking, It shouldn't become a fad now with slow cooking and all of that, from fast foods to slow foods. But it should be a norm. So just spend a little more time cooking something at home rather than... Because when you take something fast now, it has lots of preservatives, lots of chemicals, lots of salt, lots of sugars. We always like that little treat, and there's no harm. My kids have a treat every now and again, but it shouldn't be the way of life, like anything else. And so healthy foods, exercise and activity, play, very important. Let them smile and laugh and be healthy. Build their bodies, get good. I was looking at the football, an activity a couple months ago, And I can almost see the kids who were eating healthy in terms of the nimbleness of their feet on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the nimbleness of their feet, how nimble they were. And you could see those who were probably not eating as healthy and a little more sluggish in terms of even, and it wasn't really about body size alone, but it was just, so healthy, rounded, good, wide variety. Water is important, drinking water. We see lots of constipation, lots of bowel issues in children. More water needs to be drunk instead of like sodas and all of that. Fruits and vegetables. I love to go to the farmer's market on Saturdays and get some locally grown produce. More of that needs to be eaten and appreciated. And activity and play, and just spending some more time in play, honestly. I recall years ago we didn't have so much homework. The teachers would hear me and they wouldn't agree with me. But I see the kids having a lot of homework and not enough time to play. And I can't tell my kids that they need to get their homework done. But honestly, I feel for them sometimes because I remember playing so much as a child. And I think that's why I can still have a smile on my face up to today at this age. We played so much and it was fun. You played with your friends. And all your friends from all those decades ago are still your friends, Yeah. But I'm not certain that some people's friends today will still be the friends because they have that togetherness, Sterling. So more play, more togetherness, more home-cooked foods, more fruits and vegetables. Yeah. Those are healthy things.
Sorry, Mr. Tamara. But thank you all very much. And, with respect to the Dr. Mr. Tamara, ladies first, but ladies last as well, right? Any words of encouragement?
Yes, I just want to agree with everything that Dr. Swan said. And, as we said before, that preserving the workforce involves from, birth to adulthood. And so it's a life cycle approach. And we want people to understand that what you eat today will depict what will happen to you tomorrow or in the future. And we have a great increase now in memory loss and Alzheimer's that is occurring at an earlier age, in the 40s, in the 50s. And this is because of some of the high sugar content, high frozen foods, partially hydrogenated foods that is going to our brains that is causing this. And we want people to slow down and eventually stop these things and stop providing our children with these things so that we can preserve the workforce for the future.
All right, well, that's the thing. And thank you very, very much. And hopefully people start to appreciate the importance of, making healthy lifestyle choices as we eat, exercise, sleep, smile, and laugh. Let's pause and take a break. When we come back, a couple minutes of open lines. So we ask you to rejoin us after the break.
This week we will have Miss Marzita Bonner from Celebrate Cayman.
Then we'll be having a roundtable discussion on the port referendum.
That's the ultimate key, sustainable development for the Cayman Islands. We need to think big, we need to think future. How is our island going to look in the future?
The word of the week is tenacious. TENACIOUS. It's an adjective that means a willingness to yield and sticking together.
Hi, I'm Zola, and this week is Crew Week.
My pick is Chronics Icon.
So, join us this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. And for Youth Flex, a program for all people by young people. Youth Flex, more than talk.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, and I've done my best.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Come on, let's go.
Mark your calendars. Breeze Fusion Walk Run is coming. Radio Cayman's Breeze Fusion Walk Run is coming. Saturday, November 3rd in Grand Cayman and November 24th in Cayman Brac. Visit CaymanActive.com to register today or stop by Radio Cayman on Elgin Avenue. This year's funds go to benefit the NCVO, the John Gray High School Music Department, and the So-and-So Club of Cayman Brac.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
I thought I was too far gone. I wasn't.
Join the Voices for Recovery.
The world is a beautiful place again.
If you, your family member or friend are in need of support, please contact Department of Counseling Services at 949-8789.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. I have some open line until our headline news at 2. Got some guests scheduled thereafter. But hey, in the meantime, let's take your calls if you want to join our discussion, and certainly invite you to be a part of it today. It's a wonderful Wednesday. It may not be wet, but it is indeed wonderful nonetheless. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Honored to be part of this discussion. Really, really grateful to be a part of this society, and I hope that all of us, try to do our very best to make a very positive contribution. I was just sharing in passing with our guests as we talk about, being healthy and well and looking after lifestyle choices and our quality of life. Then on Friday, a number of young people, as sort of get settled for this new sort of academic year, they were sharing that in Cayman, what is the future going to look like relative to the quality of life? And one of the things that they were asking is, how are we going to move people between East End and West Bay, in and around Georgetown, in and around our neighborhoods? Some have shared that we're seemingly, even with the new investment in infrastructure, 3-lane highways and 3-lane roundabouts and all the like, as great as they may be, are we putting an emphasis on one, sort of mass transport? Is there any provision in the lanes anywhere, whether underground, overhead, or even in some of the existing lanes, to have some other means of moving more people other than everybody in a car going back and forth? But equally, they asked, well, what about walking and riding safely, being able to walk and ride? Now, some recognize that yes, it's rainy, it gets hot, probably uncomfortable. The temperatures in Cayman may not be the same as you may find in different parts of the world, but people still walk in those other places, and we have in some cases the added benefit that it's less congestion, it's cleaner, safer, not as much pollution and smog and the like, but they still move about those places. Why are we here not considering the benefits, not just of the sunshine and the physical activity, but the impact on the environment as well as on our pocketbooks? One student said that while she was here for the summer, she very consciously tried to walk as much as she could. When she couldn't walk, she would ride. And I don't think I can say it with the same level of conviction or passion nor frustration as she shared. She said it was almost impossible, even in her neighborhood, from stepping in dog drop-ins to having dogs bark and chase her whether she walks or ride, to being able to access certain points, whether the sidewalks were not there or whether they were but she couldn't step up on them properly. And just so that you appreciate this is, in her mind, very active, healthy individual. She says, thankfully, no sort of known disabilities. So she possesses, the good, as she says, fortune to be able to move in a very limber, mobile way, but not, seemingly in her own country, because not just the quality of the roads, but the lack of sidewalks, or in some cases, sidewalks are not accessible to other places where, the pedestrian isn't the preference, and if you're not careful, you have other people who are running you down. Now, there's one thing that we wanted to ask based on what they were sharing, and that is simply this, again, her perspective, this seemingly almost overnight, sort of a adoption of these motorized bicycles and scooters and skateboards and whatever they're called. She gave it a name, and I honestly don't recall, but she showed me pictures. So some are look like a bicycle of sorts where you stand up on it. Some are what I call a skateboard, or maybe have a different name. But she was saying, are these things legal on our roads? And if so, should they be? I thought that the recent amendments to our traffic legislation has, in fact, now made these things legal. And she thought, do we recognize that some of these can travel, 15, 20 miles an hour? What could happen if they collided with something, or even with you who, out running or riding or walking? She also shared that they're on our roadways. Are they posing a danger to themselves and an impediment to other road users? Because they're motorized, should they then be subject to the same rules, regulations, laws as a car or a motorbike or some other, means of motorized transport? Now, you be the judge, and you may think, well, hey, I can get around much easier and faster. It's certainly environmentally friendly. It's electric and not burning any sort of direct fuel as they move you about along the roadways or across the parking lot or what have you. But is it safe? Is it, as she shared, something that we're setting ourselves up for greater problems down the road because of the impeded movement of other vehicles and the potential safety issues to the person or the others? 8949-8037. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, how are you today, man?
I'm all right. I was listening to you yesterday with the minister, Mr. Corconwell, and Mr. Austin Harris, the new change man.
Yes, sir.
He seems he gets saved with the PPM. Now Mr. Austin changes all his opinions all these years in the radio. It seems big salary changed the opinion of people, unfortunately. But I will let you know what is this fight over. The port, the tender, and the shopkeeper are fighting. This is not the fight belongs to the Caymanian people, not about anything to do with the Caymanian people. It is a fight between two sides, the tender making millions of dollars and the shopkeepers making millions of dollars. They are fighting, and one side, the opposition or some people, they going in the radios against the board. It's not the motive the motive is not to protect the Caymanian people. It's the motive who supports who and who fighting for who. And the issue is about the shopkeepers. They want the port in town. We know that Mr. Corconwell is the minister who is related to some big owners of shops in town. And he is fighting to put the port in town. And the other side, the tender, is or some group called Save Cayman, or those fighting for the tender. There is nobody fighting for the Caymanian people. And in the end, who's going to build this port is China Harbor. Who is this government, the PPM government? Before, they are against it. Now they are friends with China Harbor. They want to build the port. So it is about business people. It is about making money. It is about making who make money. It is not about the poor individual, poor Caymanian to make $1 or the whole Caymanian people is not in consideration in this fight.
Yes, sir.
And that's the truth. I'm telling you the truth, which every Caymanian needs to understand. This is not a fight, not belongs to the people or not about the people of this country. It is a fight between rich people, and Austin and others will change their opinion. The big salary will change anyone's opinion, even in Dwayne yourself. If they give you $20,000 a month, trust me, you will change your opinion. Trust me, it is about money. It is not about the Caymanian people. If they benefit or they don't benefit, they don't care much. They caring about the business people benefit, the shopkeepers, Robert Hamati and Kirkconnells, and I don't want to say more names, and Darks and others who own the shops in town. That's the fight is about the rich people. It is not about the Caymanian people. The Caymanian people not in any consideration in that fight. So you see Johan and all of these people fighting, they don't want the port, and this side saying they want the port. My friends, they are fighting for the rich people. They are not fighting for me and you, the poor individuals in this country. And this fight is over between two sides, is the vendor and the shopkeeper.
All right.
We will see who will win.
Indeed, sir. Well, this is where perhaps being informed and involved here. Thank you very much. A couple of calls to take, but a news break as well. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Tuesday morning, police received several reports of break-ins. They got reports of 3 vehicles being broken into overnight in the district of Georgetown. Shortly after 6 a.m., officers responded to a report that 2 vehicles had been broken into at an address on Anchorage Avenue in Georgetown. Nothing of value was reported stolen. Officers also responded to a report that a vehicle had been broken into at an address on Tempest Way in Georgetown. A quantity of cash and some personal items were taken in that incident. The incidents, however, are under police investigation. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. E. coli caused the death of a British couple who died after falling ill at a holiday resort in Egypt. 69-year-old John Cooper and his wife, 63-year-old Susan from Burnley, Lancashire, died in Hurghada on August 21st. In an official statement, the Egyptian general prosecutor said post-mortem examinations showed E. coli bacteria was a factor in both deaths, but the couple's daughter called the report absolute rubbish, insisting that there is more to the way her parents passed. Morocco's law criminalizing violence against women has come into force. The law includes a ban on forced marriage, sexual harassment in public places, and tougher penalties for certain forms of violence. It has been criticized by Human Rights Watch for not explicitly criminalizing marital rape and lacking a precise definition of domestic violence. A government survey found that 63% of women between the ages of 18 to 65 had been victims of violence. And Apple's new smartwatch features a display that extends further towards its edges. The firm said the Watch Series 4's usable screen is now more than 30% larger despite the device itself having similar dimensions to its predecessor. It also gains the ability to detect if its wearer has fallen and to take electrocardiogram heartbeat readings. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Watch out for great mobile value and exciting free gifts from Flow this summer. The Samsung Galaxy A8 is yours for as low as $43.25 a month, and you can enjoy 25 gigabytes of data, 2,000 texts, and minutes on a Flow postpaid mobile value plan. Sign up and have even more fun with free summer gifts from Flow, like air travel vouchers, movie tickets, sound systems, and more. Share your summer experiences with Flow. Visit discoverflow.ky for more. Terms and conditions apply. Watch out, summer. Flow postpaid mobile plans are sizzling.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam.
Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Save 50% off a complete pair of glasses with any student eye exam. Now extended until September 28th. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in the Caymanian Village. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
We are now in the hurricane season, and to survive a hurricane, you need to be informed. If you have been informed by official sources that a hurricane is approaching the Cayman Islands, and you live in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding or near the beaches, which may be swept by high tides or storm waves, please seek a safe place and high ground. If the only way for you to get to a safe place is a road that is also likely to be flooded during a storm, please leave home early. Don't run the risk of being stranded. This has been a public service announcement from your community station, Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. Got a couple of calls in the queue. Let's go straight to them as we continue the discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today. Well, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How you doing again today?
Boy, like yesterday, even better.
Yeah, yesterday you were saying you were trying to get good looking, so I was seeing if you were still on that pathway today.
Yeah, man. I took some magic pills.
Yeah, boy, Dwayne, I understand. Listen, man, I had an opportunity last night. I went back and I searched for your program online, the great benefits of being online and streaming online. To listen to that program again and all the details, and lo and behold, I heard myself and heard the details. And I saw a few things, and I thought it was important that I call back today to qualify and quantify a few things. And having said that, just know, Dwayne, that whenever it is, I know you know me well enough, but whenever it is I try to share from my heart and share truthfully and as honestly as I can, if you will. And I try not to mince too many words. And so just know that, man, because I know there was a few times where there, it looks like from the video anyway, it seemed like they were indicated to you that maybe what I had to say wasn't particularly relevant, and lo and behold, in your wisdom, you held forth and was able to let me finish my thoughts. But I thought it was important that I call back and quantify a few things and for clarity's sake. One was, I shared yesterday my thoughts in regards to the cruise birthing facility, and particularly the environment I honed in on. And the minister's response to my thing, again, I saw him searching as I was talking on the video last night. So it was apparent that he either didn't hear what I was saying and pseudo-listening and jumped for this, something that could mull over what I was saying. But I want to make it clear. My reference to the environment, and particularly the director of the environment, Ebanks Petrie, that they removed from the steering committee and their response to that, it had as much consideration for the fact that they're moving through various phases and stages as it did for them keeping her on in her vital role during the entire, all of the various phases. Because she is such a lady that's staunch, in my view, in regards to the environment, was the point I was trying to make, that any deviations from plans, and plans are just that, they're made to be broken sometimes, and you have to tweak and move around and that sort of thing. And the whole entire concept, or the whole entire reality about the sensitive environment surrounding particularly East Rock and Devil's Grotto that the southern pier will no doubt impact, was my concern about having her on there or removing her from that particular steering committee. It was meant to highlight the importance of that director, and since the environment, as they claim, are so important to them as well, then I couldn't see no rationale for removing our director of environment, was particularly the underscoring point I wanted to make.
Okay.
In that regard. Crucial for me also, and I think it's important that I share that. Yesterday Mr. Harris said something that actually made me feel a bit better since we're thinking about concrete, where he shared about the free-flowing water and the way that they're necessarily thinking about constructing the pier with the piling. That made me feel a lot better. But I also feel, and I just wanted to give him that across, but I feel also to ask the question about whether there were any other considerations for the development of the pier outside Georgetown Harbor. I didn't ask that, but at one point in time, I think I heard the minister, if I recall correctly, share that there were no other considerations. He was making another point, and he said there were no other considerations for the cruise berthing facility outside of Georgetown Harbor. And again, from an environmental standpoint, I find it hard to believe that if we were serious about not wanting to hamper and not playing and pandering to special interest groups, like I just shared yesterday, i.e. the businesses downtown, the cruise industry themselves, and the fact that they want to save on their bottom line and not have to burn fuel out there in the whole nine. If we were serious about the environment and making sure that we get this right, it wouldn't be an afterthought. It would have been part of our entire assessment. I remember traveling to Bermuda, which actually, a few times, I think I mentioned yesterday, and they're smaller than we are, as you know. And they have, if I'm not mistaken, 3 different cruise berthing facilities at 3 different points around the island. And I don't know how much their on the water environment plays as part of their entire tourism package,
right?
Like ours play, but it's very crucial to us. And there are strategic points and other points that could have carefully been considered. And so the entire point surrounding the environment, and when I talk about the fact that in the past we've neglected it and all that, it was the sum total of that reality that we have developed along the lines of interest groups.
Mm-hmm.
We've developed along the lines of everybody else, but like that caller said before me, but the Cayman people. I don't care how much we try to dress it up about the economic benefit. And that was the other thing, the last point I want to make was, that was the other thing that he also raised as well in his summation and reply to me. He talked about the fact that the report came out saying that the economic benefits far outweigh the environment. Well, that's probably the case for just about every single development that we've had in Cayman. The environment has never played an equal role. It'll always show the economics. It all depends on the matrix or the variables that are being measured, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, if you're going to measure, how many cruise ship tours you're getting versus, clearing out, acres of land, or in this case, the seabed, it's going to always win out from a dollar per dollar perspective. I don't care how you slice it.
Right.
You make it work how you want it to work. And so I thought it was important that they understand that. And I want to reiterate, in my case, I was neither here nor there. I think they took myself, and I know I came across a bit strong, but it took me from a standpoint of me making a clear decision. I am not. I joined the people-initiated referendum movement, which is the Safe Cayman, and I want to correct that last caller. Many of the people that I see in the one meeting that I've gone to so far are lay people who have common concerns.
Yeah.
And it's across the board. I just want to clear that up. That it's people who feel like we're in the dark and we're not getting the full picture. The reasons why I had a discussion this morning on social media by an elected member who came on my page and started to say some question me on a number of different things and throw some on the lying tones and the whole nine. He talks about the fact that this has been talked about from 1972 and the whole nine. Well, there's a reasons for that. We can't correct if there's a mistake if we destroy downtown harbor or it really impacts the 7 Mile Beach and the scientist gets it wrong. We can't correct that. There's the fact that we've been talking about it for so long doesn't make it any less important today. Okay. It just makes it all the more critical, And so all those who are out there who are really thinking about our country from a holistic standpoint and not just pandering to the fear about we're going to bypass the tourism industry. The cruise line is going to leave at a rate or two. I suggest that you sign the petition, would be my appeal to them, with the hopes of forcing a referendum vote so that the government has to force it to a vote, and then they're going to be forced to come and argue the position, hopefully from all angles, the dollars, the cents, the environment, and the whole nine, and you're able to go in and make an informed decision. Thank you, Dwayne.
All right, thanks very much. And we'll take one more call as we get to our guest. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mom. How are you?
I hope your day is going well.
It always is, thank God.
Yesterday I tried to get on and I couldn't when you were speaking about the new birthing facilities.
Yes,
for
Mom.
the cruise ship.
And to you, that does be I do apologize.
I must say that I was very, very pleased with the presentation by the members from the government, the Honorable Moses, Colonel Councillor Austin Harris, and the other gentleman, Mr. Barton, who were on your show. Up front, I am in favor of the new birthing facilities that are planned. I did not make that decision just, without a lot of deep thought. I realize that those individuals in the government who have gone to great lengths to get the best advice from reputable firms and everything, including what the economic impact is going to be, has been very well thought out, and they have received a lot of information and a lot of background facts and figures that are going to be, I'm sure that their interest in this, for going to great lengths to get us the best advice possible, is done because they have as much interest in Cayman as I have. We know that this has been a subject that has been going on for quite some time. We also are aware that every time a cruise ship comes here and that anchor is dropped in Georgetown Harbor, it is impacting our marine life, at least as far as the reefs are concerned. And if that continues, there's going to be so much more harm done. And this is what we have to pass on to the generations to come.
Yes, Mom.
I see the cruise ship, yes, from an economical standpoint, to be very good for those businesses which are in Georgetown, which have invested already, multiplied millions of dollars, and their businesses are right there at central Georgetown on the waterfront. And that's something which one cannot simply just push aside as meaningless. People have invested. But that is not all of the reasons, or not even most of the reasons why this new facility should be put in place. When I learned that the environmental impact that as a result of building this was not going to be anything which would negatively impact the 7 Mile Beach, the flow of sand, the flow of water, the way that the piers are going to be built, that the flow of water will go back and forth and not create a problem. I also thought of what I've heard over a number of years is that probably 40% at least of those passengers who arrive on the cruise ship do not disembark because they do not like to use the tenders. Many of those people who use the cruise ships are retirees and older persons, and they're not particularly keen on taking the tenders because not every day is as calm as a pond in Georgetown Harbor. And it might be the cruise of a lifetime they're taking. It might be they do want to, disembark and get on and see the sites and visit some of the places of interest. They do not like the tender. So what I'm saying here, if we're losing about 40% or more of the business which might have otherwise been derived by those passengers coming ashore, that makes quite an impact on the economy here in Cayman. I realize also that it's very likely that all of this is going to impact us in some way as far as traffic is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that the government is looking, bearing this in mind and thinking of ways and during the hours that the cruise ships are in port, what can be done to minimize any negative impact on traffic flow. So what I'm saying is it's a project which is going to take several years. I don't think that we want to lose the cruise ship business, but we also want to bear in mind that there are other ports besides Cayman, and those huge ships which bring more passengers. And in some cases, the passengers which come off of the bigger vessels, I'm wondering whether they may not have more money to spend. I'm not sure at this point. That's not something I can argue with. But I do know this, that we need to consider it from all standpoints and to recognize that the government has as much interest in what's best for Cayman as I do. And after they outlined all of the steps that had been taken to ensure that they got for the people of Cayman the best possible project and have gone to great lengths, as I mentioned earlier, to ensure that our marine life and our marine environment was not going to be negatively impacted in such a way that, what we would lose could not compensate, or what we would gain would not compensate for what we might have lost. So I trust that before we say no, that we would take a look at everything. Like I said yesterday, I was so pleased with how the government, or the members who were representing the government at your talk show.
I would imagine then that a person like you, as a former legislator too, would have already taken the opportunity to look at all the reports thus far.
I just hope that before we get into any deep controversy, that we consider everything and go about this as we ought to, not create dissension because some people in the House may not be for it. But I am one who feels that the government is doing what they think is best for the island as regard this project, and I trust that rather than creating controversy, that we'll look at it from all angles, and there'll be some who are not for it, but I guess we'll have to do whatever it is that is best for the island. Right. I thank you for your time, and I close by saying that I am in support of the government moving forward with this project. Having heard what I have up until yesterday, and so I am hoping that without too much delay and obstacles, roadblocks, they may be able to move on this rather.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing. I know there's going to be a much more discussion. And as we have two guests from 100 Men join us, let's just take the quick short break. When we come back, and we can talk to Adam and James. There's no breaks? Oh, even perfect. You see that gentleman there? He is on point. Well, Adam and James, chance so we can just switch gears quickly. And thank you for sitting in the studio joining us. We look at the great work 100 Men have been doing. I was tempted to have you be in and say, no, let's not talk about it. Let's talk about this. But with every great effort and stride, every collective action, we can make a meaningful impact. And I think as you come alongside with your brethren, we're seeing that your contributions collectively have been not just charitable, but community-centric. So, Mr. Lambert, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Thanks very much for having us.
You see the fun we have sitting here listening to this?
It's a hot topic. It's from the moment I came to Ireland, one thing I've always appreciated is regardless aside, there's just passionate people here on island, and that's at the end of the day how you end up with the best outcome.
Yep, the Cayman heat, man, it's the passion, right, James?
Love it.
That's right. And we see that passion too, whether it's in political discussions relative to port education, but we see that passion in our willingness to want to contribute to our communities, to making sure to support some of the charities, to collective to pool our resources, whether they're financial or whether they're physical, whether we're lending the muscle, like James, or the brain, like Serge.
So confused where I was going to go with that at the moment, but that was a great segue.
Yeah,
that was perfect.
Yeah, man. I mean, West Bears Week.
I liked it. I said passion, and yes, that's exactly why we're here.
There you go, man.
To discuss, obviously, the 100 Men. We've got an event 2 days. Tomorrow. I'm sorry, what's today? Wednesday. So tomorrow, which is the 13th at the Brooklyn. So for those that don't know about 100 Men, just a quick rundown. Obviously, we are a group of men that are passionate about our community. We decided that we have a little bit of extra money to give. 4 times a year, we show up. So once a quarter with $100. We get to listen to the great works of 3 local charities at each event. And at the end of the event, based on majority, everybody in the room votes. And the one recipient is awarded the money in the room. And there's several hundred men that are part of the non-organization, we like to say. But at the end of the day, there's usually over about 100 people at each event, hence the 100 Men. So each charity, the recipient of each quarter, ends up walking away with over $10,000 to their charity.
And that means a lot to some of those charities, not just for their ongoing operations, but maybe extending some of the programs, introducing new programs, right, James?
Yeah, and it's it's why we do it. We get to hear not just about the recipient charity that night, but the other 2 charities that maybe were unfamiliar to some of our members prior to coming to the meeting, and you get to hear what they're doing and the good works they're doing in the community. So yeah, it keeps us going each time. We get to meet new people doing great things here in Grand Cayman.
Now, for those who are listening who want to be a part of it, qualifier would have to be a man, at least.
Yeah,
not as manly as James, right? But
yeah. I do have feelings,
No, hey, listen. I had a mutual friend say to me, he said, "Man, there's just some men who move about a certain way. It may not be Grizzly Adams or Arnold Schwarzenegger. It may be the legs of people. But James, at the end of the day, Adam, you come together, you meet, you socialize, you fellowship, you network, and then through that contributed effort, you bring things in order."
Yeah, and it's really the genesis of this whole thing is this is made for people that have a little bit of disposable income, perhaps not a lot of time to give. We say, okay, we'll create a spot where you can come make a meaningful impact in 4 hours. So basically, in 4 hours every year, we get to make a tremendous impact in the community, and I think we've raised almost $205,000 so far.
Just $204,100 in 12 meetings. So we're starting our 13th meeting tomorrow.
On the 13th.
On the 13th and the 13th. I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
Easy to remember.
Exactly. Man.
Yeah.
And that has been significant. I mean, as you come together, you say every quarter. Now, for the men in the community who haven't come as yet, is tomorrow a good time to come out, to be a part of it, to get introduced?
Absolutely. You can show up. Registration starts at 6 p.m. at the Brooklyn. The meeting always starts promptly at 7. We've never been longer than an hour. We get in. We have a great time. There's networking before that lots of people like to take advantage of. We're always there's some unbelievably generous sponsors that, for example, give drinks, welcome drinks to people, and we have the meetings start at 7 and it's always done at 8. So we do a massive amount. If you think we've raised over $204,000 in this will be in 12 hours. Mm-hmm. So that's just absolutely staggering. The most important part, and I talked about it last time, is that there is no board of directors, right? There's no overhead. There's no expense. We're extremely grateful for the opportunity you guys have given us in order to come on the radio and talk. And the reason is because we don't have a budget. Simply, if it costs us money to do it, we don't do it. So at the end of the day, when we say 100% goes to local initiatives, 100% goes. Mm-hmm. It's everything's been given to us by very, very generous sponsors.
Yeah. And we've seen some of your recipients over the time. So whether, would it be possible, you have 3 who are, I say, sort of vying for the crown tomorrow, in a sense. Can you tell us who the three are, or you have to be on the evening to find out?
You have to be there on the evening. Good try.
I know.
Good try.
I try.
I was getting my list out.
But you realize that, out of respect for you, he's been there before. Right? So he knows I always try. No,
yeah, he does. He tries every time. And every time I tell them we have to be there, you got to be there. So nobody knows. None of our members know until they get there. And then our MC, Derek, comes out and he kind of announces who the charities are for that evening. We have had obviously 11 different charities. I think one has been the recipient charity twice now. But you have to be there the night of, and that's when we announce the three. But I can tell you that they're three fantastic charities, and they're doing great things in the community. So we're very excited to host them tomorrow.
Well, I think this is where we come together, and as I look at a couple of comments online, I just want to say, come in, you guys. It just shows what we can do together as we step up. And for $100, it's really someone spend more. And this person doesn't play that way, but they say spend more sometimes just on the evening out.
Of course,
and it makes a difference. It really does.
It's nice seeing other people that are in the room that also want to make a difference. Mm-hmm. It's nice sometimes to realize that you're not alone, that there's other people that see what an amazing place that we live in and wake up every morning and they decide that they want to do something more. Mm-hmm. And this, for people that are busy, but as James said, had a little bit extra money, this is doesn't get any easier than this.
No, man, it is. And even though you don't have an organized structure, a board of directors and the like as some other entities, how do people sort of join, for want of a better word? I use that word, playfully, but how do people join?
Well, there's two ways. You can certainly go on our website, 100men.ky, and there's a join button, so you can go on there. It takes 30 seconds. You put your name and contact information in and nominate 3 local charities from a drop-down box. Or even simpler, come to the meeting tomorrow and register before the meeting. So we'll have a welcome group there with a couple of computers, and they eagerly will set you up and get you going and welcome you with open arms. And we do that before every meeting. So, yeah.
Now, question off air is, even though you say 100 men, obviously if you get to 1,000 men or 10,000 men, it doesn't matter, but it's still...
Can you imagine? That would be absolutely incredible.
Awesome.
We have several, as I said, several hundred men that are part of the initiative, and really we'd love, in an ideal situation, for every single man that's registered in order to show up at the event. So getting the word out there, things like this, and have everybody bring somebody else. If you think that, again, it's that compounding effect of everybody being there with $100. And if there's 200, we now give out $20,000, right?
Okay.
There's a massive opportunity.
So the recipients on evening are determined by the amount of men present, not necessarily the number on day.
So when you go to the website and register, or when you come to the meeting and just show up, you are given the opportunity to select 3 charities that you're passionate about at registration, and then after every single meeting, you can update them. And we do encourage that people go and update, because we have the rule is that if a charity presents at a particular event, they are removed for 1 year. And if a charity is the recipient, they're removed for 2 years. And the reason is there's some smaller charities that we really want to give the opportunity not only to present, but have the opportunity to be a recipient. So based on those nominations, 3 are randomly selected out of a digital hat. So obviously a larger charity or something that's more well known might have more ballots in the hat. But some of the smaller charities, it just takes one. And as we're removing charities, we're looking forward to people to go and update those and give others a chance. So.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now, with our new charities legislation, for those charities to become eligible to get in the hat, what do you require of those charities? So they're listening, they say, hey, I'm not aware of this, but has an opportunity to be the recipient of funds to help with their ongoing programming. What do you need of the charities?
Yeah, and we on our website there's a detailed list of what a charity needs to accomplish in order to qualify. It is very, very simple. At the end of the day, that registration is now critical. Before, we used to say had to be a charity in business for over a year, a local initiative. The money has to absolutely stay on island. The only difference is now we need the registration, the certificate, and it's. I think the NPO is a great initiative that then holds nonprofits accountable, and also gives a little bit of
credibility
and security to those in the community. So we definitely embrace that as well, and made sure that we're looking at that list. It's jumped to impressively. There was originally, I think, 60 or so, and then now there's over 200. So it's great.
Yeah. I hope that those who are involved start to appreciate the necessity of it. It gives them, not just locally but internationally, gives them a chance to get recognition, but to be seen as credible. And entities like yourselves who come together and genuinely want to, make a contribution, helps the community. A little can go a long way.
Certainly can. It's the power of many numbers, or what do they say? Many hands make light work. And
I heard that somewhere.
So was it you that said that?
I might have said that. Recently.
Yeah. But when we all get together and we all bring $100, it's individually. You're not going to do a whole lot with $100, even though it's welcomed. When you start, collecting it and timesing it by 100 or 200, then it can actually make a huge impact. And I think that we forget sometimes, what kind of life we've been blessed with down here, for those of us not from here originally. And this is, the least we can do is to get out here, give 4 hours a year to the country that, our adopted country, the country that we love. And, it's been a fantastic experience for myself, and I know it has been for Adam, because we've talked about this for years now, but it really does feel like you're doing something, and we don't have a lot of time. And before we were doing this, I think we were both kind of feeling a little bit guilty about the lifestyle that we were leading, and how blessed we were, and that we weren't really doing anything. And then we decided, okay, enough is enough. We're going to start doing something, and that's where we came up with this idea, and we thought it would be perfect. And we're just blessed to have it now and into our 13th meeting, and I guess we're in our third year now. It's gone by so fast, but it's been fantastic for us, and we just kind of want to share it and get as many people in as we can.
Well, I appreciate you sharing it, and this is speaks to an ethos. I mean, you talk about being lived in the best place, and it's true. For those of us who have friends who are originally not from here, and they start their families, they grow their families, they realize how amenable, how safe, how wonderful the place. But it also asks the question, too much is given, much is required equally. And I think, Adam, you guys epitomize that. You have, whether it's health, whether it's wealth, whether it's measured in the financial account, or the ability to go out and windsurf, to be able to travel and trek some of the mountain scale. Cayman has provided a wonderful opportunity for many of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, thank you for joining hands, man.
Yeah, and again, you can cut me off at any time. It's talk radio, so I assume that I can try and continue the discussion. Why is my mic off? You had said something earlier about 100 men, and do you need to be a man? And yes, obviously, and going back to further what James had said, when we looked at this originally and how we were going to make our impact on the island, the discussion was, do we be 100 people? The initiative overall had stemmed from 100 Women Who Care, and the men's group, as I understand, was some husbands from the 100 Women Who Care group, and they were challenged to find 100 men, and they accepted the challenge, and the first 100 men organization was started. So when we looked at doing that, it was obviously trying to carry on the tradition that had been started by a couple people before us. But and there's a fantastic 100 Women's initiative in Cayman as well. Not only did they set records in Cayman, but they set records internationally. Out of 750 chapters in the world at the time, they raised $43,000 in 1 hour. That was their first meeting. That's absolutely incredible that many women got together and gave that much, all just $100 at a time. But they really embraced it, and to that end of the point I'm trying to get to is, we looked at doing one or the other, but so many of the great initiatives on island are driven by very, very strong and passionate women, and there really hasn't been. We've met some great guys that are heading up heading up some wonderful initiatives, but the reality is they're the minority as far as men putting up their hand in this community and saying, you know what, I can do more. So at the risk of
yeah, man. But you're right, and it speaks to that history too that it is Cayman. As the men were, what I say, Iron Men and wooden ships. Whatever sacrifice and sacrifice, and some was ultimate. The remaining women, whether the mothers, the daughters, their sisters, and the like, were the ones who continued, who were the recipients of whatever funds or goods that they sent back, but who continued building, investing, and making things. And the women set the bar very high in our country.
Indeed.
I challenge you to, see if you can get 1,000 men. What is it the women say? If you want it done right, just call a woman.
That's absolutely right, too.
We're trying to yell at it. I know exactly what he's going to say. When we were trying to put the planning team together, they're like, oh, we should call her. Oh, wait. Well, maybe we'll get her husband.
Exactly.
You can ask her.
It would have been the easy way out, I think, to make it 100 people, because they would have came in like gangbusters and tore the roof off it. But we thought, no, let's let them, let's do our own thing, and they should have their own group, and now they're killing it. So.
Well, listen, you know what? I think like anything, you want to see a good game of football, you have to put two good teams together, and both groups equally complement each other about your effort. So tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock, come a little early.
6 o'clock, Brooklyn, Camana Bay. The meeting doesn't start until 7 o'clock, so if you come at 6 o'clock, you can get registered, have a drink, network with some of the other gentlemen. But the meetings start promptly at 7 o'clock, and I don't think we've had one go over 8 o'clock, so our goal is to have it finished within the hour, and we've done that every time so far.
Bring a friend or two.
Bring a friend or two, and if you're a member and can't make it, remember our buddy system and make sure that some of that is going is taking your money for you.
All right. Well, thanks very much, guys. It means a lot, and it just shows you. Yeah, I know sometimes for some people, $1 or 100 or 1,000 can mean a lot, but think about what that collective impact, and whether the program supports education or healthcare, whether it's in relation to crisis management or other issues, it could affect us all in a positive way. So, hey, thanks for coming together and doing, setting the bar high and the example for other men to follow. Because we don't always step up, right?
Very true. But our members have been fantastic, and we thank you for having us on today. We really appreciate the time and the attention to a great cause.
Well, we appreciate you reaching out to us, and we're glad to it. And thanks again for loving us. We didn't expect to take that much time, but to field our callers and get what is another important issue. Maybe in another vein, Adam, we could come on and tap into the intellect and have you give us some of that insight relative to our future.
How long is your show?
Hey.
He can go.
I know.
It's amazing how many times I start an email with, I'll try and keep this short.
8 pages later.
Yeah, but hey, that just speaks to, that passion, but also that insight. So maybe we can tap into it quite soon, man. What do you think?
I'm flattered and scared.
Yeah, scared. No, don't be scared, man. It's radio. Come on, who's going to see you?
Yeah.
I know. I speak to Mr. Norma about that. All right, but no, honestly, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Not only have a wonderful, evening tomorrow, fellowship, but hopefully there'll be some of us who'll be inspired to continue the cause and maybe pick up the mantle in another vein and move us forward so that tomorrow is not just safer and more productive, but it's also encouraging and nurturing to others. Gents, your inspiration.
Thank you.
Hey, to our listeners, it's Thursday tomorrow. That means two things, It's Thursday. The day after Wednesday, the day before Friday. So be a part of 100 Men if you're not registered. Yeah, do so 6 o'clock at the Brooklyn. But it's Thursday, so hopefully members from the opposition will join us. And they're on the schedule. With all that transpired in the Legislative Assembly, there'll be a lot to talk about. Until then, be blessed.